Good morning, welcome to Resource Prepping. I'm your host, Greg. Please continue to like and subscribe, and thank you for the comments from Canada. I appreciate you. Kyle Rittenhouse trial and videos. What can we learn from that experience as a prepper? First off, I would say never put yourself in that situation without having a lot of backup and a lot of friends and a lot of skills. Mr. Rittenhouse is a young boy, and he is a boy, 17 years old. He just turned 18. But at the time, he was a young boy embellishing on his abilities. So as a prepper, do not ever put yourself in the middle of a riot without at least having multiple backup scenarios and the skills to survive. If you are in a rioting situation and not defending your home, your friend's home, or a place of importance to you, house of worship, get out of there. Absolutely do not put yourself in that place of danger saying, I am going to show these people what's up and damn the consequences. Don't do that. Get out of harm's way. Get your family out of harm's way. Run for the hills. That's not being cowardice. That's being really smart as to protect yourself and your family. Now, it's a whole different scenario, a whole different argument. If you are protecting your business or your home or whatever, I'm not debating that at all. But to inject yourself into a situation, don't do that. Don't do that. In my opinion, that's a close combat situation, and unless you were in the military or a policeman that has had that experience, I would never assume that I could survive that. And in my opinion, Kyle Rittenhouse is extremely lucky he did survive. Number 2, don't embellish your skills, your abilities that you have. Watching the trial, Mr. Rittenhouse, Kyle, embellished his abilities to, for whatever reason, stroke his ego, make himself more self-important. He embellished his abilities. First off, he's not an EMT. He's not an EMT trainee. By his own testimony, he only started attending classes for being an EMT. According to his own testimony, he took a class and watch videos. Most of us have that. That does not mean we're an EMT. So don't embellish your skills. Be realistic with yourself and others in your group. If you say, I can wrap up a sprained ankle, that's basic. You can't really screw that up too bad. But if you say, I can stop bleeding and it's a gunshot wound, you better be able to do that. People's lives are in your hands. So don't embellish your skills. He also claimed he was part of the volunteer fire department. That was also a lie. He was a trainee, never invited to put out a fire, never invited to handle fire extinguishers or anything else. He took that upon himself, again, to make himself more self-important, stroke his ego. And he got himself in trouble. By stroking your own ego, you believe you are more important than what you really are. And he ventured out into the streets with good intentions that ended up and went way, way wrong. Now, as far as showing restraint, using his rifle, and not just becoming an active shooter, essentially what the left is accusing him of, he only, in my opinion, and according to the video, used his rifle in self-defense. You can argue all you want. He was found not guilty. So again, if you are in a situation as a prepper, be selective in what you are going to pull the trigger on. Once that bullet leaves the chamber, you can't take it back. You can't say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. I thought your flashlight was a gun, and now I'm sorry." We've seen and heard that before. So be extremely cautious when raising your weapon at another person. Safety, safety, safety. And I'm sure the people on the movie Rust and Baldwin, as much as I despise that man, regrets ever raising a pistol at somebody else and pulling the trigger. Another question I have several, is these people that ended up dead and or injured, the press and the networks on the left are not saying exactly who they are. When you are in a situation like that, rioting in the streets, the people that are participating, actively participating, are not nice people. You're not just going to have a conversation and say, "Please don't burn down my business." They're going to hurt you. They're going to burn down your business and kick you in the head while they leave. As it turns out, many of these people are convicted felons multiple times. Mr. Rosenbaum is a convicted pedophile, sexually assaulting young children. Not a good guy by any stretch of the imagination. The one person that was referred to as the jump kick man actually wrapped chains around his ankle and is a convicted felon, supposedly. They know his name, they knew his name, and he asked for complete amnesty for the assault on Mr. Rittenhouse when he kicked him in the head with chains wrapped around his ankle. And the prosecution did not grant him amnesty. Mr. Grosskreutz, who had his arm shot by Mr. Rittenhouse, is also a convicted felon, domestic violence, stalking, and burglary. Yet he had a Glock in his hand and was going to potentially pull a trigger on Mr. Rittenhouse before he was shot. So where are the prosecutions of these people, especially Grosskreutz, who is a convicted felon, having a handgun in his possession? What kind of deal was made there? Jump kick man is asking for amnesty to say everything he did, and yet he was never called to the stand. And my last question is, would we have had the same coverage, and thank goodness there was video on this, would we have had the same reaction if Mr. Rittenhouse carried a handgun, legal or not, instead of an AR? Would this have been as blown up as it was? What if Rittenhouse was 21 instead of 17 and carried a handgun and got caught in the exact same scenario, but instead of an AR, he had a handgun? What would have been the outcome then? Would we have had the same coverage? Would we have had the left going nuts? The left would still be saying Second Amendment has to go and vigilantism and everything else. But would it have been the same type of national coverage had it not had an AR? These are just some of my thoughts. I'm glad the trial is over. I'm sure he is over. But these are the lessons we could take away from that. Thanks for liking and subscribing. Please continue to hit that subscribe button. As always, get yourself right with God. Ask for forgiveness for your sins and get baptized. Greg out.